What's going on, everybody? Happy Monday. DK Show up on the air on your radio dials 105.1 FM, 790 AM. Also available online, sportstalk1051.com. You got your Google, Alexa home devices, the app, and of course, the video stream up and rolling Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Hopefully, you all had a fantastic weekend and you're ready to hit up a brand new work week here, Super Bowl week. Now that the Chiefs and the 49ers have officially arrived in Vegas, Super Bowl week is upon us. What do we got on the good old game plan for us this morning? Well, we got some hoops chat. Yeah, kind of a weird week, maybe a little bit of a down weekend for hoops in the state of Scotty. You had the Bucks with a come from behind victory on Saturday against the Mavericks to give Doc Rivers his first win as head coach for the Milwaukee Bucks. And then last night it looked like, hey, Bucks were going to pick up another win against the Jazz, but nope. Jazz said, hold on to your beer because they put up 40 in the fourth, and the Bucks only put up 13 in the fourth quarter, and the Jazz were able to complete that come from behind victory. So right now on this 5-game road trip for the Bucks, that'll end tomorrow in Phoenix. Bucks have only won one game. They're 1-3 so far on this road trip. That started off against Denver, then Portland, then Dallas, and then Utah. Yeah. Last night, Giannis 33, Portis 27. Nothing off the bench, though, besides Mr. Green. He may be getting a bigger role here under Doc Rivers here, but I mean, you take away AJ Green, you got 4 total points from the bench last night. Cameron Payne 3, Pat 1. That's it. That was it. And with the trade deadline coming up here this Thursday, maybe you have to wonder, could Pat be one of those guys that's on the move? Is Bobby Portis going to be one of those guys that's on the move? You got more rumors, you got more rumblings out there about some potential moves being made for the Bucks by that deadline on Thursday. But man, that was definitely a blow last night. 123 to 108 victory for the Jazz. Right now, when you look at the current standings in the Eastern Conference, Bucks still holding on to that second spot, though. Even though they're 5-5 in their last 10, barely holding on to that second spot because the red-hot Cleveland Cavaliers are on their heels. You got the red-hot New York Knicks that are on their heels, too. I mean, this is 2 through 5 here is becoming kind of a jumbled up group here. You got Milwaukee at 2, Cleveland just a half game back. The Knicks 1 game back from Milwaukee. Philadelphia, who's currently in the 5 spot, 2 back from Milwaukee. So, yeah. Western Conference side of things, the Timberwolves and the OKC Thunder are tied up there at the top. And that's still, you want to talk about a jumbled mess up the front. You got OKC, Minnesota up there. Clippers are a game back. Denver's just a half game back. I mean, it's kind of some crazy races right now for some playoff standings as we get closer to the All-Star break. Then after the All-Star break, that's when things really start to like kind of kick it into gear here a little bit. So, yeah, that over the weekend, and the Badgers, they tried. Badger men's basketball, they tried. Gave it all they could. It was a battle, but nonetheless, they fell to Purdue 75 to 69 last night, or yesterday afternoon, excuse me. But it was Badgers giving them a fight, 34-32 at the half, and just they tried. Tyler Wall put up 20 to lead all Badgers in scoring. AJ Storr, 14, 3 Badgers in double-figure scoring, but for the most part, you know, Zach Edey, they held him to 18 points, 13 rebounds there. But now with 2 losses in a row here, have to imagine with the latest rankings coming out Badgers will probably fall outside the top 10 in the latest rankings. Next game up for the Badgers is going to be on Wednesday when they take on Michigan at Michigan. So if you're looking at regular season games here, we've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 more games left to go here in the regular season. Yeah, 9 more games. Dude, that's going to come up fast. We got like a month left with the regular season here. Then we're going to be talking about brackets and conference tournaments and, oh boy, coming down fast, man. So we'll throw some hoops chat in here. Shout out to the Stout women's basketball team with a big win against Whitewater over the weekend. Blue Golds, both men's and women's teams falling to Oshkosh. The Stout men's team falling to Whitewater as well. What about the football world? It is Super Bowl week here, right? In terms of the green and gold, a little bit of movement surrounding some of their coaching staff here. Jerry Montgomery out as defensive line coach, run game coordinator. He's going to be moving on. And the Packers bringing in a former quarterback, Sean Mannion. Now, Vikings fans probably recognize the name, spent some time with the Vikings. Still a young dude, going to be 32 this year. But he's calling it a playing career, and he's joining the Packers staff as a coach. He's going to be helping out the quarterbacks in the passing game. Now, at first blush, you kind of wonder, okay, does that mean Tom Clements is going to call it a career? He's up there in age. Could he, be retiring? But from reports, he will be back. He will be back for this year or for the upcoming season. But maybe you kind of wonder, is Sean Mannion kind of grooming him to maybe potentially take over as quarterback's coach at some point? So got a little bit of talk there about, or I should say a little bit of updates there surrounding the Packers coaching staff here with Sean Mannion coming in and Jerry Montgomery leaving. So we know the Packers are going to be looking for a new defensive line coach. Other than that, there was another coach that's going to be moving on to the Atlanta Falcons. Oh, I just blanked on the name. I'll look it up here in a second here. But nonetheless, those are kind of the big ones floating out there for the green and gold. No, I haven't seen anything else. Justin Hood, that's the name. Thank you, Justin Hood. Moving on to the Falcons over there, but other coaches, other position coaches, specifically in the defensive side, haven't seen any other reports or rumors about whether they're going to be moving on or staying around under the new defensive regime over there in Green Bay. So, but anything pops up, we'll definitely keep you posted. So we've got some studs and duds. Who are your studs and duds from the weekend? Let us know via the Shoe Doctors Bullpen texting line. That's always up and rolling 24/7. That number, 715-830-1912. Again, 715-830-1912. So we'll hit that up. I believe we'll catch up with JC Nisi, Justice Cleveland, sports director extraordinaire. Catch up on some of the local stuff that's happening in our area as we're getting ready for some postseason stuff. We're getting close to getting ready for some postseason play, I should say, for a lot of our prep teams. I know wrestling had some conference stuff. Hockey's got the seedings out. We're getting close to basketball and such. So we'll get the breakdown. JC Justice Cleveland about 7:30 here this morning. I had just thought of this too. Somebody asked me this over the weekend, and I feel like we do this every 6 months. I'm like, you know what? I might steal that question for you and kind of throw it out to our wonderful listeners out there. All right. So somebody had asked me this, and I don't know if it's because they've kind of heard us talk about it for the last every 6 months or something like that. But if you had to do kind of a state of the union in terms of Wisconsin sports now, with a lot of the stuff that has changed, Brewers wise, how well the Packers looked at the end of the season. Badger basketball right now, and this was before the loss to Purdue. Bucks, a lot of talent, but maybe not playing to the level that we thought or expected. Who would you have the most confidence in Wisconsin right now in this state to maybe come away with? Or who'd be like the first? If you had to, Super Bowl week here, right? Vegas, if you had to put some money on a team that you'd think would be the next one to win a championship, who would it be? Who would it be? Kind of almost a stock reports, really, too. But, in the I guess in the theme of everything Vegas and Super Bowl and such, if you had to put a little bit of fake money, right? Let's do some Monopoly money or something like that. Or how about G-Man's Bucks? How about that? We can call it like that. G-Man's 401k. Which Wisconsin sports team right now would you have the most, or what most confidence, or who do you think has got the best shot or trending in that direction to where you think, you know what, I think they've got the best shot to come away with the championship? And I had to think about that for a little bit when this person asked me, and I know it kind of gets thrown out there every 6 months or so. It feels like every few months. But given the changes with the Brewers, no Craig Counsell, Corbin Burns gone, kind of going through a youth movement, Jackson Churio signing for the long term, putting a lot of eggs in that basket there. A lot of stuff has changed with the Brewers franchise. You got the Bucks, Damian Lillard coming in, thinking, all right, yeah, another finals. But coaching change already. Kind of going through some low points right now. Still a lot of freaking talent. But do you trust them to come out of the East even right now? Do you think they could come out of the East? They got the talent, but it's just something's not clicking yet. And maybe it's one of those teams that it'll turn on right when the postseason gets there. How about Badger basketball? All right. I mean, heck, they had a shot if they would have taken care of business against Nebraska and beat Purdue. We're probably talking about the Badgers tomorrow with RJ Cardinal as a top 3 seed in the country. Now, these 2 losses, obviously, they're probably going to be falling outside the top 10, but could they be a Final Four type of team? And I know that's not championship, but you kind of know where I'm getting at here. And then, you got the green and gold. The way it ended, the season ended, they were, oh man, a few plays away from going to the conference championship against a team that they're very familiar with, the Lions, who they split the regular season. Maybe we'd be talking about Green Bay playing in the Super Bowl. I know that's putting a lot of eggs in one basket there, but a lot of enthusiasm surrounding this team. You got a new defensive coordinator coming in. Young studs stepping up and playing incredibly well this year. Is Green Bay back in that kind of power ranking, if you will? Maybe that's the best way we have to kind of look at this, or maybe that's the best way to ask this: is if you had to power rank in terms of like championship potential, or in terms of you think they have the best shot at being the next Wisconsin sports team. And I know we could go like Badger men's hockey, Badger women's hockey. Those 2 right now would probably be towards the tops, right, of championship ones. I'd put those 2 at the top there. I mean, those to me would be the most likely ones here. But if we kind of look at, the 3 pro sports and then throw in some, like, I guess Badger football if you want to do too, Badger basketball. We'll throw Marquette in here too. They're in Wisconsin. Got to throw Marquette in there. But if maybe you just narrowed it down to those groups, those teams, are the Packers back at number 1 for you in terms of like, I think they got the best shot at winning the next one, or is it still maybe the Bucks because hey, they've got 2 of the best players in the world? Maybe a top 3 player in the world right now with Giannis? Is it still the Bucks? And how far has the Brewers maybe kind of fallen? Because it wasn't that long ago. It wasn't that long ago when we threw this out there. It might have been a year. Brewers were at the top for a lot of people. Like, oh, I think it's going to be. They got the pitching, Council, all that stuff. I think that one's probably taking a big old tumble down. And then, if you want to throw in Badger football too, I mean, you got the Big Ten Conference expanding, USC's coming over, UCLA, Oregon. I mean, it's going to get a little tougher. And that might be a good thing, though, for Badger football too, because, hey, it's going to get tougher in the conference. Better get better on the field. Better get better recruits coming in. Iron sharpening iron, right? So I thought it was kind of an interesting question when somebody posed that to me over the weekend. I'm like, a lot of stuff has changed in the last few months when you think about it in terms of some of these Wisconsin sports teams. Because if you go back, maybe 6, 7, 8 months ago, probably thinking Bucks. Packers are probably third, fourth at best on that list. Have they or have they moved back up to number one? Are they number 2 behind the Bucks? A lot of stuff has changed. So I want to throw that out to you. What do you think? Okay. Hit me up. Text it. 715-830-1912. Twitter. DANKSPER. Facebook.com/Kasper Sports. Let's get things rolling here this morning, all right? First break. Let's get at it. Pitter patter, let's get at her. We'll be back in just a few minutes with the leadoff. Sometimes you just need a little me time, and what makes your me time is what makes your me time better is just a great cup of coffee in a relaxing, cozy environment. And that's exactly what you will get when you visit Cabin Coffee in Altoona. Why settle for the low quality coffee for your me time when you can have a freshly roasted brew with many different flavor options located right in your own backyard? Need a bite to eat during that me time? Cabin Coffee has you covered as well, with a menu filled with breakfast, lunch, and bakery items. Having a good cup of coffee just instantly puts us in a good mood. That is, if you get your coffee from Cabin Coffee. So take a little me time and visit Cabin Coffee in Altoona, located in the River Prairie District, and experience what quality coffee really is. All right. Got get to some of your texts coming up here in just a little bit. Already got a few to get to here. Um, Eric Name from the Athletic, who covers the Milwaukee Bucks, and we got the trade deadline coming up on Thursday, so just a few days away here. And whether the Bucks make a move or not is the big question. Now, Eric Name also reporting that, and I don't think it's a too big of a surprise, but Bucks aren't looking to move any of their top four key players. That being Giannis, Dame, Brooke, Middleton. So again, no big surprise. And we know the Bucks are hampered from making a bunch of moves for a few different reasons. One, money wise, we know that they don't have a ton of cash. I mean, the owners and are already paying over the luxury tax, and there's a soft cap when it comes to the NBA and such. And so you got that. Uh, Assets to trade. You know, they don't have a lot of draft picks that they could trade, although Portland's a second round pick seems to be the most uh, likely one or the most attractive one out there. And player wise, you know, it's kind of slim pickings after that too. So, what type of moves could be done with the deadline coming up? And Eric Name from the Athletic, again, who covers the Bucks, had a really good piece out there, and kind of came up with a couple of hypothetical trades. So, and he did a fantastic job because you know you got to factor in the salary cap situation as well as their assets that they have. And I thought there was a couple of interesting ones on here. One, Chris Dunn from the Utah Jazz for Marjan Beauchamp and the second round pick that the Bucks currently hold for Portland second round pick that the Bucks currently hold for this upcoming draft. Now, Dunn, you're essentially would be getting him for defensive purposes, bringing a little bit more depth to that backcourt there. The downside of it all is you're moving on from one of your younger players, Marjan Beauchamp. And I think a lot of us, when we look at Marjan Beauchamp, and you can kind of look at, well, has the guy gotten enough opportunities this year to showcase what type of player he can really be? That was one of the players I think when we started off or right before the regular season, we were like, hey, this has got to be a guy that's got to come off the bench and be a big time contributor. He's got to be that guy. And you know, when Adrian Griffin was first hired, he's like, okay, he's got one of his things that he's known for is developing younger players. And now ever since Doc Rivers has come in, and I know Marjan's been kind of, you know, banged up here or there, but you kind of see some minutes going down here. And so far this year, the kid's averaging 4.8 points per game, 2.3 rebounds per game. So that would be one of the downfalls is you're kind of moving on, or you would be moving on from one of your young players that at least at the beginning of the year, we were kind of hoping to see some maybe a jump in his second year. And if they trade him this year, would they be getting rid of him too early? But we know that championship window is right now for the Bucks. So they're looking for players that won't help them a couple years down the road. They're looking for guys that can step in right now, be a part of the rotation, and instantly improve this team to win this year. Another potential package that Eric put out there was Murray from the Hawks. Now this one would definitely cost the most. One, financially for, pay wise to pay Murray, but also in trade assets. You'd have to give up Bobby, Pat, Marjan, Portland's second round pick, and Milwaukee's 2027 second round pick. It's a lot to give up. That's a lot to give up. Now he is, we talk about his scoring, and his scoring is up this year, but he is a solid defender as well. But if you put together a package like that, you're taking away a lot of your bench. You're taking away Pat and Portis, two of your top bench contributors. Now, if you bring in Murray, you're probably putting Malik Beasley to the bench there. And then you got Jay Crowder and Malik Beasley is probably your top two bench players coming off, and part of that rotation there. But you're giving up a lot for that one guy. Another one that he threw out there was Grant Williams, forward from the Dallas Mavericks, for Bobby Portis, straight up. Another one out there, DeLon Wright to the Bucks. He's from the Wizards to Pat Connaughton. So, I mean, there is some potential out there. There is some moves out there that could be made. Whether the Bucks decide to do it or not, that's what they got to decide here. Time's running out. You just got a few more days here. And whether they look at this road trip right now, is that answering any questions, or is it creating more questions potentially? Is it, hey, new coach coming in, just trying to gel with the system, trying to incorporate everything. Everybody's kind of learning on the fly sort of thing. Some of the same issues still out there, still popping up its head, ugly head. When will everybody start to kind of figure it out? Kind of get it going here a little bit. That's what John Horst in his front office for the Bucks has to figure out. Are they seeing stuff that, like, okay, we still got to improve in this area. We got to make a move to get better here. Or are they going to be a little patient and be like, we're going to see how this all works out with Doc first, and just kind of ride with it right now with the team that they have? It remains to be seen. But I think one thing's for sure that we have seen so far from Doc and his 4 games as head coach for the Bucks, he does have a little bit of a shorter bench. He does have a little bit, goes with the starters minutes going up a little bit. That factor in, maybe for a trade like Murray, when you're giving up a bigger package for that. Well, if you got a coach that's changing the rotation a little bit, increasing minutes for starters, a shorter bench, maybe you're willing to put together a big package like that. But if the Bucks are going to make a move, I mean, it seems like your 3 likely players that could be on that move is Marjan, Pat, and Portis. Portis is a huge fan favorite. Obviously, I think the fans initially wouldn't like it, depending on who they get in return. But they're going to be a little down. They're going to be a little disappointed. And Pat and Bobby, they were a part of that championship team. Glue guys for that championship team from a couple of years ago. But this is the situation you get in when you put so much into, like, your starting lineup, into some of your superstars, and you need a little help elsewhere. You got to move on from some fan favorites over there. All right, we got Surveyor Sam, my fellow Wisconsinites. Wow, this is a big text here, man. My fellow Wisconsinites, this is a State of the Union. The past 6 months have been a trying time for us sports fans, but the horizon in front of us is getting brighter and brighter every day. But there is work to do. Okay, I really love this so far. Green Bay Packers, at the beginning of this year, most people said you wouldn't win 6 games. And instead, you were this close to the NFC Championship game. Future is bright with the youngest roster in the NFL. Milwaukee Bucks, you made one of the trades the decade by landing Damian, but then struggled with a first-year head coach. Now you have a new coach driving the helm. And even if you don't like it, you have to admit it, it couldn't get any worse. But we're sitting at the 2 seed, and we have the Greek Freak. Shake off the rust, Doc, and get this team going in the right direction. Brewers, what can I say other than what are you doing? Either go all in or go all out. Letting Council go to the freaking Cubs. Come on, man. And finally, University of Wisconsin. I just have to say bravo. Volleyball, hockey, basketball, cross country, swimming, and even the football team are some of the best teams in the country in their sports. Hey, don't forget about wrestling. Wrestling had a great weekend, too. Wrestling had a great weekend for the Badger team. All in all, Wisconsin sports are sitting at a great spot for men's teams years to come. And we should all hold our heads high that we are at least not Minnesota or Illinois. All right, there you go, Surveyor. Now, Surveyor, what if I put you on the spot here and said you had to pick one team that you think has got the best shot or will be the first one to win a championship? Who are you rolling with? Who are you putting your money on? In the spirit of the Super Bowl being in Vegas, who are you putting your money on right now? Putting you on the spot. Rest of you, chime in here too. Take a quick break. We'll be back with some more texts coming up after these quick words. Speaking of the Man Cave Podcast, brought to you by our good friends from Toyson Ford and Hy-Vee in Eau Claire. Big thanks to everybody who's been listening, tuning in, subscribing, following, rating, and reviewing it. Big thanks. Appreciate that. Let's keep the momentum going, shall we? Please. Appreciate it. Just wherever you listen to your podcast, wherever you get your podcast, like Apple or Spotify, if you could take literally like a few seconds, won't take you that long to give it a 5-star rating and a positive review over there too, so others can find the podcast. And don't forget to download a bunch of different episodes. We're averaging like, man, 8 to 10 a week now. So got different segments up there. We got the DNR, we got our outdoor tidbits with Jake. We got our inside of training room segments going up there. We're having our local sports roundup up there with Justice and Brandon, and of course our regular stuff up there on episodes of the pod. So appreciate that. If you could take a few seconds and tell you what, if I see you putting a rating or review on there, I might send you something too. So go ahead, do that. Spotify and Apple. All right, big chunk of you right now going with Green Bay as the team that you think will be the next Wisconsin sports team to come away with a ship. And if you're just joining us, the reason I brought this up was somebody had asked me this over the weekend. And knowing that, every 6 months we feel like we kind of have this discussion, but a lot has changed in the last 6 to 7 months here. The Brewers, no Burns, no Council, maybe going with a different route in terms of how they're building a team, really putting a lot of eggs in their young basket. Jackson Churio signing a long-term deal, maybe going with a little bit of a different philosophy, considering how the game of baseball is going out there with contracts and such. You had the Bucks making that trade for Dame Time, but maybe not playing up to that. Still 2 seed in the East, barely, but still maybe not playing to that potential that they thought. And then you have a Packers team that surpassed a lot of expectations and looked really, really good, and few plays away from going to the NFC Championship, where they would have played a division foe that they split the regular season with. So throughout that question, after how much stuff has changed, because the Packers were towards the bottom of the list at the beginning, well, not that long ago, about half a year, 6 months ago. They were towards the bottom. And right now, the majority of you, and it's a wide majority of you going with the green and gold. How things have changed, even over the Bucks right now. Even over the Bucks, you're picking the green and gold over the Bucks. Interesting. Now, for those of you who have said Green Bay, let me know. Just, if you don't mind, maybe take a few extra seconds here to state your case. Why? Is it because of the youth movement? Because you've seen those young guys really step up? And maybe it's simply because, well, we got the answer. Jordan Love is a starting quarterback in this league. Maybe it's as simple as that Jordan Love answered the questions and maybe even surpassed your expectations over there too. But it is a wide majority right now. It is the Pack. And maybe for some too, it's, hey, they got a new defensive coordinator coming in. Defense is going to change, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Could be a different reasons out there. And for me personally, I'd be hard. I mean, it ain't going to be the Brewers. Brewers are not that. If we throw in Badger basketball, I mean, I think this tournament's going to be crazy. A lot of upsets across the board, and I feel like a lot of those games are so matchup based too. It's hard to decipher, but I don't think this Badger basketball team is going to win a ship this year. I think Elite Eight potentially. Football, Badger football. I don't see it. We're talking national championships here. Marquette could be one of those teams that just goes on a crazy run into the tournament, but I could also see them doing what they did last year, an early exit, second round. So I don't have a lot of stock or faith in them either. Then it kind of boils down to, because again, we're taking away Badger hockey because like a lot of us would instantly put them at number one, or even Badger volleyball. I mean, those are the top three probably right now in the great state of Scotty. Badger men's hockey and women's hockey. And then, if we take those three, we're left a little bit with Bucks basketball and the Pack. And you look at it and it's like, okay, well, the Bucks have a team that's all win now, and they got studs and they got freaks, superstars. Just not quite clicking, but could they get a team then that's clicking at the right time? Getting a little momentum before the postseason starts, riding that momentum into the postseason. Boy, because for me, I really, really, really hope this year, selfishly, we get a T-Wolves and Bucks NBA Finals. Selfishly, I hope we get that because I'm going. I will go across the border and go to that game for sure. Probably even a couple over there. This Bucks team, gosh, they got talent, but it's just something's not clicking right now. And at what point are we just going to be like, okay, well, that's them this year? We're into February. At what point do you say with this Bucks team, hey, that's their style. That's who they are this year. And the wild card in this whole thing, to answer that question too, is you got a new head coach in who's only 4 games into it. You're kind of resetting everything. Should say everything. You're resetting a big bunch. So does that buy you a little bit more time? Because we talk about it a lot in the NFL. When you get to a certain point in the season, that term or that phrase that we hear a lot about when it gets to the football schedule, give it a few games. That's when we know who so-and-so is. And I feel like a lot of times that gets overplayed. The more you think about it, I think that gets so overplayed. Because for the longest time, we've heard coaches or we've heard NFL people out there go out there and say, give it, the first quarter of the season. Then you kind of start to know who is who. How many times have we seen teams, Green Bay being the example this year, where that first quarter of the season, entering the second quarter of the season, that's who they are. That's not who they were. It ended up being that's not who they were. Now, for some of the really good teams, yeah, they were solid pretty much the whole freaking season. But we hear this all the time when it gets to the NFL. Well, give it to about Thanksgiving, and then that's when we know who they will be. No. Not all the time. Kansas City was going through a little bit of like, what the heck's going on with Kansas? Now they're back in the Super Bowl, and they're the favorite again. Well, at least the last I checked. Momentum and how you're playing at the end of the season is such a huge difference maker. That's why I don't know why some people don't believe in momentum. I don't get that. Is it because it's not a measurable thing, so it's not a real thing? You can't measure it? No. Anybody, I think, who has played at any level, I don't care if it's middle school or what, everybody knows that momentum is a thing. So, but when it gets to the Bucks here, it's like that wrench and that wild card and everything is okay. You threw in a new head coach. You're almost resetting a little bit. So how quickly can everybody get on that same page and get on the same script? Because you look at the schedule, we're just a little over 2 months away from the end of the regular season and getting to the postseason. And right now, when I look at the top teams in the Eastern Conference for this Bucks, this isn't a good thing, but I think you can make a case for Celtics are going to be the wide favorite to get in. But after that, the tier two teams, because I'd put Boston as a tier one team, the tier two teams in the NBA, I think you can make a case for the Bucks, the way Cleveland's playing right now, the way the Knicks are playing right now, and Philly. At the beginning of the season, we said there's probably three teams in that top tier for the Eastern Conference. Bucks, Celtics. Actually, it was probably just two. Bucks and Celtics, because we didn't know about the 76ers with the James Harden ordeal. And they're doing okay. But now Joel Embiid being out for a long time, that could really, sink them here. But if he gets back in time and they're still in that top five, top six over there, that changes things for the 76ers too. But man, kind of tough to decipher here a little bit how things are going to shake out in the NBA. And that's honestly, as a fan, if you're just a casual fan, you like it that way. You don't have the, well, that's clearly the favorite over there. A couple texts to finish up the first hour. Surveyor, because unless the entire team decides to take a gigantic step backwards next year, this Packers team is just way too talented to not say this team doesn't win at least 11 games next year, and they've already proven they can compete with the big boys in the NFC. C-Bomb, it's the Packers, and not just because Jordan Love is him, this young wide receiving, I'm assuming that means group, is another Sports Illustrated cover, in my opinion. The major players are all coming back. Free agency money to spend to put some pieces in place. Decent draft. I'd say it's really good draft capital, not decent. This was a year of learning, and the team came together next year with experience and a new defense corner that should get more out of the talent on the defensive side of the ball. This team is going to do some exciting things. Oh, where do I roll with this? Try not to let Green Bay or the Bucks. You had to pick one right now. Maybe that's where we need to narrow it down. Green Bay or the Bucks. Which one are you putting more money on? Kind of a futures bet. Which one do you think is going to win a championship sooner? Tell you what, I'm going to create a poll. I'm going to try something fancy with our texting line here, okay? I'm going to try to during the break here. We got coming up here in a couple minutes. I'm going to create a poll question through the texting line here. All right, see where everybody's at. So if we narrow it down to just those two, because that's where, I mean, it's been a wide majority of textures that's coming in. But for anybody who maybe doesn't want to, maybe a little shy, maybe a little nervous to give us your thoughts, then this way is a little you can do it a little bit differently here. But I'll be curious to see where this thing rolls, how this goes. So hold on to your text yet. Hold on. I'll give you some instructions coming up past the news updates here at the top of the hour. Shot clock's going to cut me off. We got studs and duds coming up. Hit me up with your studs and duds. 715-830-1912. We'll get to those just after the sports nuggets of the day. We got JC and the EC, Justice Cleveland, sports director extraordinaire, also joining us at 7:30. We'll get to the latest on the local sports going on and such, as we are inching closer to some postseason play in our area for some local sports. So JC will break it down, recap it, and preview it for us coming up here in just a little bit as well. We'll get back to our conversation at hands, and then get back to some more hoops talk. Lots to discuss on the hoop scene here with the Bucks, and then Badger basketball and such. One in, we got a couple more to go here. Stick around. We'll be back in a few minutes. Second hour on this Monday morning coming at you right now. Appreciate you all tuning in wherever, however you're tuning in. All right, we're going to try something fancy here. All you on the texters, texting line, text the word poll, P-O-L-L, to our texting line, 715-830-1912. And then you're going to get that poll question. Which team right now do you think, if you had to put some money on it, to you think is going to win a championship sooner, who would you pick? Who would you pick? All right. Let me know. Or don't let me know. Text the word poll. All right. Text the word poll to our texting line, 715-830-1912, to participate in that poll. Because first hour, we narrowed it down to Bucks and Packers. And for those who texted in their answers, they went with the Packers. So this is going to give you an opportunity. If we got some Bucks fans out there that want to say, no, back the horses up, you guys. It's still the Bucks. Here you go. Here's your opportunity. All right. So it's anonymous. So I I won't be able to tell all that sort of stuff. I'll see the results. But this gives you a little bit of a, if you didn't want to chime in and give your thoughts that way, there you go. So, but just text the word poll. All right. Text the word poll to 715-830-1912. All right, let's do some sports nuggets of the day here to get us going here in that second hour. If the website wants to. Here we go. All right, we got, let's go 1950. Dick Irvin of the Montreal Canadiens became the first NHL coach to win 500 games. He ended his career with 690. 1972, Bob Douglas became the first black man elected into the Basketball Hall of Fame in Springfield, Massachusetts. Sugar Ray Leonard in 1977 won his first pro fight. The first time in 30 years a wrestling match was aired in prime time. Andre the Giant beat Hulk Hogan in the match 1988. 1989, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar became the first NBA player to score 38,000 points. We've got Bob Knight in 2003 when he was with Texas Tech, coached won his 800th game, 800th victory over there. 2006, the Pittsburgh Steelers defeated the Seattle Seahawks 21-10 in the Super Bowl. It was at that time, it was the fifth Super Bowl victory for the Steelers. We know they won another one with Mike Tomlin after that too. I remember that one. That was in Detroit, wasn't it? Yeah. 2006, remember watching that one. A lot of controversy after that too. So those are just some of your sports nuggets for this morning. Sports nuggets for this morning. So, and don't forget too, when you text, text the word poll. Okay, text the word poll at 715-830-1912. But text the letter. It gives you, it's either A or B. All right, for it to give me the results, text the letter A or B in response. That way I can get a better. Some of you are, I'm getting texts that just say Packers or Bucks. Got to do the A or B option on there, okay? So A or B, that way it'll keep track for me over there. Let's continue talking some hoops here. The Badger basketball team falling yesterday to Purdue in a matchup of 2-6, but we know Wisconsin was probably going to be down a little bit further after their loss to Nebraska there. It was a grind out game. It was a tough one there. Tyler Wall, probably his best game of the season, 20 points, 10 of 16 from the field, also 7 rebounds and 5 assists. AJ Storr helping out the cause with 14 points. Not a ton of production off the bench. Not a lot of guys playing off the bench either, but just 11 points off the bench for the Badgers. Stephen Krall, after going, shooting the ball twice in that game against Nebraska, just 3 of 6, attempting 6 shots in this game, 8 points, 5 rebounds for him. But Badgers falling to 8-3 in conference play now, 16-6 overall. When you're looking at the Big Ten conference standings, Purdue now at the top with a 10-2 conference record. Illinois and Wisconsin behind them, 8-3 conference record, 1.5 games back. 1.5 games back. So you've got next up for the Badgers coming up here, that game against Michigan on Wednesday. Then you got Rutgers. So a couple road games coming up here. You got Michigan, then Rutgers, and you're back home for a quick game. But 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 games left. 9 games left. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 of them at the Kohl Center. Looking at it, Badgers, I mean, you got Illinois yet. Illinois barely squeaking by Nebraska at the end last night. Then the season finale against Purdue at Purdue. So Badgers potentially a lot of movement surrounding where they could be standings wise and such. But I think it was Jeff Goodman last night on the Field of 68 podcast show they do and such. And they were talking about the Big Ten. And I think they hit it on the head. You know, and you look at the Big Ten, it's tier 1 is Purdue. Then there's a gap. Then it's Illinois and Wisconsin. And as they said, there's a bigger gap after that. A bigger gap. So, and I would agree with that. I would agree with that. I think it's when you look at the Big Ten, it's a 3-team conference right now. And I get a little nervous saying that too, because you still got Michigan State there. And how many times have we seen Michigan State where they start off slow? They've got a really tough schedule through a tough stretch there. But then when it gets to conference tournament, when they get to the main tournament, it's like, oh, weird, Spartans again. Should never have, downplayed them. Should never have forgotten them, Tom Izzo and such. So I get a little nervous about that. But I think it's accurate to say, at least from what we've seen so far, it's kind of a 3-team race in the Big Ten. You got a gap between Purdue and Illinois and Wisconsin. Although Purdue has shown they're vulnerable. They absolutely are vulnerable. Northwestern seems to always give them fits, at least this year. And then you've got Illinois and Wisconsin maybe battling it out for that second spot. And then after that, it's kind of like, okay, Northwestern's in there 3.5 back. Michigan State's 3.5 back. Nebraska and Minnesota 4 back. I mean, after Illinois and Wisconsin, it's kind of a jumbled mess. And it's going to be interesting to see how the final month of the regular season plays out because of the seedings for the conference tournament. Because you look at this, you've got, as I've said, Northwestern, who's 3.5 back. Michigan State's 3.5 back. Nebraska's 4 back. Minnesota's 4 back. Indiana, Maryland, Iowa, and Penn State, 4.5 back. So from Northwestern and Michigan State down to, Indiana, Maryland, Iowa, Penn State, you're talking about a game difference. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 teams that are within a game of the 4th spot, 4th in the Big Ten conference standings. It's going to be a crazy finish to the final month of the season for those teams, in particular for the seedings in the conference tournament, because maybe some of those teams need a deep run when it gets to the Big Ten conference tournament to solidify their spot in the main tournament. But right now, I think when you look at that Big Ten conference for hoops, it is 3 teams, and Purdue's the top. Got that gap. I would agree with what Field of 68 said. Got a gap. Wisconsin, Illinois, then a little bit of a bigger gap. Should be getting the latest rankings coming out later on today to see how far Wisconsin did fall in the standings, in the rankings, after their last 2 games here. The Purdue one, that one won't fall them as much. Nebraska, that's the one that's going to take them down a little bit. But is it enough at 6 to get them outside the top 10? I think so. I think they're going to fall outside the top 10. Just my opinion, but that's where I think they're going to be at. So, all right. So okay, we got quite a few. Let me see if I can get some early returns. So, again, all you have to do is just text the letter A or B. You don't have to put anything next to it. Okay. You don't have to put the word poll. You don't have to put the team in there. Just text the letter A or B on there. Let me see if I can bring it up here, see how everybody's rolling here. So far, the results are Packers, 63%, still rolling with the pack. Who do you think will win a championship sooner? You want to participate in our poll? Text the word poll to 715. That's POLL to 715-830-1912 on that Shoe Doctor's bullpen line. You're going to get the question sent back to you, and then just text the letter back, A or B. A or B. So far, a lot of you going with the pack. And if you'd like to give your reasons why, let me know. Then you can send me that follow-up text, okay? That's 715-830-1912. I've thought about this for a while, and I think, man, is it actually Green Bay over the Bucks? I mean, the Bucks have a win now team, but there's something about them right now that's it's not giving me good vibes. I don't have good vibes right now. And then you look at Green Bay, and I'm trying not to have the expectation is going to be higher for Green Bay, no doubt, and they should be for the upcoming season. But are we overreacting a little bit to just how well they played down the stretch? But then I look at the NFC, and it's like, okay, Lions are going to be there. 49ers should still be there. Philly is an interesting one, too, because they're just a chaotic mess right now trying to find the right coordinators to figure that out. Dallas, I don't know what the heck's going on over there. Dan Quinn's leaving. He's taking some of those Cowboys assistants. Is Mike Zimmer going to be the defensive coordinator with the Cowboys now? Mike McCarthy's, prove it year. They're kind of a mess over there. NFC, is it possible that they could be a little bit more wide open so a team like Green Bay could come? Man, we actually saying this would have been laughable back in when, maybe summer now. Back in the summer. So, boy. All right, so 63% of you still going with the pack. Let me if you want to give your reasons either or for the pack or the Bucks, send me that follow-up text, okay? Interesting. I'll keep you updated on some of the results coming forward here a little bit later on. Speaking of the pack, by the way, quick update on some of the coaching stuff out there, or I should say position coaches out there for the pack. So it was reported that Jerry Montgomery would be leaving the team. Longtime defensive line coach, was also run game coordinator on the defensive side for the pack. He is out. Sounds like he's actually interviewing with the Patriots right now for a position. He is out. So Packers will be looking for a new defensive line coach. Also, Sean Mannion, the former NFL quarterback. Vikings fans probably know a little bit about him. But he is calling it a career at the age of 31. And he is going to join the Packers as a assistant coach that's going to help out with the quarterbacks and the passing game, according to reports. Now, my first thought was, okay, is this a guy, is Tom Clements getting up there in age? Could he be calling it a career, maybe retiring? Sean Mannion going to be coming in and coaching the quarterbacks. Now, according to reports out there, Tom Clements is expected to be back. But I got to wonder if this is almost a kind of like, okay, Tom's back, but then kind of mentoring Sean Mannion as a future quarterback coach for this team. Now, if you read a lot of stuff, you look it up from the national side, there was a lot of stories out there, like a lot of coaches or people around the league knew or had a really good idea that at some point when Sean Mannion was going to call it a career, he was going to get into coaching. Well, that's the case now. Obviously, we'll see how he does, but I think just based off of everything, I feel like this is a move where you're bringing him in, kind of shadowing, job shadowing, assistant quarterbacks coach, that sort of role, and then eventually probably will replace Tom Clements if he doesn't get another job elsewhere. It just feels like that, doesn't it? It feels like that's going to be the way. No link for the poll question. You just text the word poll to our texting line. Okay, no link. Just text the word poll, and that poll will get automatically sent out to you. All right, it's that simple. No link or nothing over there. All right, coming up, we're going to talk with Justice Cleveland, sports director extraordinaire for WEAU 13 News. We are approaching the end of, well, in some sports, the end of the regular season, getting ready for some postseason action coming here. So we'll get the latest with Justice. Talk to him, get his thoughts on the poll question of the day. Right, we'll get his thoughts on there too. Eventually, we're going to change the poll question too, probably to maybe make some picks for Super Bowl. But I'll get those. I'll get those changed up on our website as part of our fan cave, sportstalk1051.com. We'll put the Super Bowl matchup up there and see where everybody's rolling with. Well, I got to get the marker board set up here too. We'll get JC's pick so I can get it up on the marker board. Get the official number going on here. Are you rolling with the Chiefs or the 49ers? Now it's officially Super Bowl week out there, so we got to get that thing rolling. We got to get that one up and rolling. So we'll get to that coming up here in a little bit. But let's take a quick break and we'll get Justice on here momentarily. We'll be back after these quick words. We know Mike's Star Market is your go-to place for quality and flavor when it comes to brats, steaks, burgers, and chicken. And Mike's is also your go-to place when it comes to snack sticks, jerky, and now freeze-dried candy. There's so many different flavors of freeze-dried candy that you'll want to try them all. And whenever you walk into Mike's Star Market, you're likely to find something new to try. It's almost like you're on a scavenger hunt when you head to Mike's Star Market. So whether you're looking for something to make for dinner or maybe for the big game coming up on Sunday, or stock up on some different snacks, head on over to Mike's Star Market on the west side of Eau Claire. All right, JC, really quick, I'm going to ask you for your answer for our poll question. Just a random kind of fun topic, because how the world of sports changes after a few months, right?
Yes.
Right now, who do you think, because in the spirit of the Super Bowl being in Vegas too, so you got to put some money on either A or B here, all right? Who do you think will win a championship sooner, the Bucks or the Packers?
I'm actually gonna be the contrarian here. I think the Bucks right now. I think the Bucks could win it this year.
Yeah.
There's no reason they couldn't. They're as talented as any of those teams right now in the Eastern Conference. You might go with the Western Conference, it might be a different story.
Right.
But I think, if you can make it, you have a chance. I think I know they've been wildly inconsistent this year, but when they're on their best, I think they can play with anybody in the league. So
all right.
I'll go Bucks, just because I think there's nothing saying that they couldn't make a run this year if things get into the right place.
For the rest of you who have not voted yet, if you want, we're trying something new and fancy here. Text the word poll, P-O-L-L, to our texting line, 715-830-1912. Then once you text that, the question will be sent to you, and you just text back A or B. I'll tell you what the results, give you an update on the results a little bit later on here. So the last time we talked, JC, Packers didn't have a defensive coordinator. They now have a defensive coordinator. And I don't know what you've seen or what you've heard, but it was like initially the reaction was like, who?
Right.
But then it felt like after people started to kind of look it up and started to hear some stuff, it's like, I actually kind of like this one now. It was like almost like a stages of grieving a little bit. It's like, what? No, that's just dumb. Why would you bring somebody from college when you had this? And okay, then you start hearing a little bit more. And it felt like, at least when we were talking with people the day after, it's like they started to hear words like aggressive, and they started to hear words like he plays press man coverage. And that's like a lot of stuff that Packer fans have been wanting to hear. What are your thoughts on the hire of the Hafley era over in Green Bay as defensive coordinator?
I think, I think a lot of people were just like, who, when you first get that? Because obviously a lot of people wanted a big name.
Yep.
But the people wanted one name in particular that they've wanted for
a long time. And I haven't heard his name at all mentioned this year, which makes you wonder.
He's probably not interested in doing that right now.
Yep.
So, Jim Leonard, if you're out there, if you needed to
not Bill Belichick.
Yeah. You laugh, and I had more than a few people talk to me like, what about Bill Belichick? I'm like, the guy's had the most power in the NFL.
Yeah.
He's not coming to Green Bay to be a coordinator.
I think he'd be more likely to go coach Harvard or a high school team than go be a defensive coordinator in the NFL.
I think those days passed 30 years ago.
Yep.
So, that wasn't going to happen. But you end up getting a guy. I think you look at it, it's actually a huge thing to think about. They took a guy who was a head coach for, I would say, a major or university. I mean, it's a D1 university and one that has a good reputation, and took him to become their coordinator. I think that's a huge grab.
Yeah.
If the guy's trusted to be in charge of a program like that, I think him coming back to the NFL to be a defensive coordinator is a great grab for Green Bay, and he checked all the boxes that they were looking for. And just watching some of the the footage of Boston College, and they seemed very aggressive. A team that knew how to get takeaways,
right?
Which is something I think the Packers have kind of struggled. It's been a while. I feel like it's been, there were years where they were one of the top takeaway teams. This last few years, it's kind of been a struggle there. And I think that, honestly, for Joe Barry might have been the end, the demise for him, because that's one of the few things that they actually were not very good at.
Right.
They're middle of the road in most of the things with him, but takeaways always seem to be a struggle. So, Yeah, I think it's a good grab for Green Bay.
I agree. You brought up the college thing, and now that was kind of the first. I don't know if that, but you start to hear more talk about, this might be a thing now where college coaches are looking to get to the league. And I know after that was announced, you heard some quotes about coaches saying they're trying just to get to the league, talking the NFL and the
Yeah.
change in landscape of college football right now. I mean, Chip Kelly just seems desperate to leave his head coaching job at UCLA to get an offensive coordinator job in the NFL. We got Kingsbury that's back in the NFL now, leaving USC to go to Washington. Let the Caleb Williams rumor spark now.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're here, and then you've got guys who are retiring, not just in football, but we've seen guys in basketball retiring. I mean, Jay, from Jay Wright from Villanova, still I would consider a younger coach out there. But I mean, the change in college sports with the NIL and the transfer portal, great for the athletes, but is it going to have a negative effect, you think, on having quality coaches at the college level? Or does it open up opportunities for other coaches?
I think it's going to kind of be a mixture of that because I think you're wearing so many hats now as a college coach that at least in the NFL, that stuff's compartment. Everybody has their lane that they're in for those. You have your GM, you have that. I think it's a little different in college because it's a different landscape right now that they're almost having to, manage the free agent stream with the transfer portal.
Yeah.
But do that all as a coach and go out and recruit. So you wear so many different hats. When you go back to the NFL, you can basically focus on what you need to focus on.
Mm-hmm.
You go, if you go from being a head coach at Boston College to where you're wooing and having to fly around to going to be a defensive coordinator where you can watch film, bear down, and really figure out that part of it,
mm-hmm.
I think that makes a difference. And if you're going to get about the same money, I think the NFL, honestly, is probably the easier choice of the two because you can really just focus on what you're doing, where in college, really, you have to be wearing so many hats right now.
And I know some teams have started this, it was a couple years ago, but could we see potentially some more teams? Yeah, this is the person I was thinking of. Remember Alonzo Highsmith with the Packers front office guy? He's the official title now is general manager for the Miami Hurricanes.
Right.
Could we see more colleges, or should more colleges employ that? It's a little different from athletic director. Athletic director, I would say, it's maybe like vice president or like the president of teams or something like that. But the general manager is like the person that maybe does the scouting, kind of like we see in NFL or basketball, like looks for those prospects and try that. They're the recruiting person essentially. So you're allowing your coach to kind of really focus on football.
I mean, if this NIL money is going to really flow in there as much as it is, they almost have no choice.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have to almost manage it like a professional sports team.
Yeah.
So and that's where I think you could they floated out that idea that you might have to have another tier of college football for these teams that can afford to do that to the teams that can't.
Right.
Like it's to a point where some of these teams in the SEC, the Big Ten, the amount of money going into those programs to run the football and all that stuff, that it's a professional team.
Yeah.
And like these smaller middle, I don't know what you want to say, like the smaller conferences, the non-major ones are going to have a tough time competing in that landscape. I don't know, college football is I'm not saying it's broken. You got to figure out, you got to streamline this somehow, or it's just going to end up being the Wild West. And I think you are going to have coaches. I'm sure Nick Saban had to do this. This all had to do with something with him probably stepping away too.
Yep.
I mean, just it's so much on their plate right now that you probably do need a general manager. You need a scout. I mean, you already have recruiting coordinators and stuff, but these staffs are gonna just get larger and larger. The costs are gonna get more and more, and you're really gonna price some of these teams out of college football. So here's the thing: college football created its own problem itself. You back the floodgates for so long instead of just letting maybe trickle to where it would be, the name, image, and likeness stuff. If this happened 20 years ago and you said, okay, you can probably start doing it, that's just like the Wild West.
Right.
Because there's just no plan. So I don't know. They got to figure something out, or I don't know. Like I said, you're going to have teams not being able to afford to play D1 football anymore.
And, what was it on Friday? Was it Friday? The news broke that the Big Ten and the SEC were meeting to form like an advisory committee, which now has people wondering, oh boy, is these two conferences going to form and like kind of say bye-bye to the NCAA? Sort of, I mean, that could be the future of college athletics, influenced
Yeah.
that way too, with those two conferences who have been just collecting, new universities like you have a card collection, Big Ten expanding and all that. So now you kind of wonder, oh boy, could the NCAA's got to be a little bit nervous, I would think too.
Well, I think the NCAA knows that they don't hold the ultimate power
Yeah.
anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It's these conferences right now, these big power conferences hold the cards more than the NCAA
Yep.
does. So, yeah, I mean, they should be nervous because they got a mess that they got to figure out how to do it. And I don't know what the answer is.
Yeah.
I really don't. And now the thing is, like, you look at the basketball and you don't see, it doesn't seem like there's that much panic when you look on the basketball end side of things.
Mm-hmm.
Is it just because the amount of money that's going to these football teams is just more outrageous
Right.
than it is for basketball? I don't know. It just doesn't seem like there's as much of, obviously people talk about the transfer portal in basketball, but it seems like football, it seems like a bigger mess than it is in basketball.
You're seeing guys, I think, in football almost a couple times entering the transfer portal.
And you do in basketball. I'm not going to lie. I'm not trying to sugarcoat and say basketball's perfect. No, by no means you've seen guys that have 3 or 4 schools.
Mm-hmm.
But that's also, I mean, if you're an athlete, now you have a choice.
Yeah.
And that's the tough thing, I think, for people to accept, is that true amateurism is gone.
Yes.
Pretty much in the world of sports at this point. For football doesn't matter. You're not going to, there's no Olympic for there is now flag football. Yes, yep. I don't want to discount that, but yeah.
By the way, they have a job opening for that. The VP of flag football through the NFL. I might apply.
There you go. Hey, you got experience. You've managed some flag football.
I did.
In your day.
Did some triple reverses and all that. Go. Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I think it's really, the money is the big thing, but the money isn't everything in sports now.
Mm-hmm.
You can't talk about a sport without throwing the money issue in.
Yep. Because
that's just the world we live in now. And I'm saying it's for better or worse.
Yep.
Money is the one thing that's talking the most in sports. Go to the PGA Tour. The amount of $6 billion invested by them,
mm-hmm.
not even from the PIF, just from, just so they can compete and then get that negotiate. If it's just for negotiation platform, that's huge.
Yep.
Obviously, the NFL is the money-making machine that just keeps churning out billions.
They got their own printing machine over there. Yeah. It's
some people can say, well, the NBA's down, like, because they got beat by an Iowa game or something like that.
Yeah.
NBA's doing fine. Look at those crowds.
Yeah.
Now, if you're a team that's struggling, maybe you're not getting those crowds, but the NBA is going to be fine.
Mm-hmm.
Baseball is still throwing money hand over fist at guys.
Yep.
More than any other sport. They're still throwing
$700 million to a dude.
And we're not even getting worldwide where, soccer money is insane. So, I mean, unfortunately, the day we live in is just dollars and cents drive everything right now. And we're seeing it trickle into the college sports world.
Yeah.
Not even trickle, just deluge coming in there, and they don't know what to do.
Isn't it kind of, wasn't that long ago, Justice, where we were talking about like NFL coaches or coordinators in the NFL going to the college level for head coaching jobs? I mean, I remember when McCarthy was coaching in Green Bay, there was a rumor that Texas wanted him and he had a home in Texas. So there was that rumor, like, could he leave Green Bay to be the Texas Longhorns coach? And, you hear all these other coaches. I mean, now you kind of wonder, would there ever be another Nick Saban that would leave the Dolphins to go back to college? That's with how much college has changed with that.
Well, it was always the pureness.
Yeah.
That's, college, you go back, that's the pure football. You don't have the business aspect involved. Well, if you're a D1 coach, that business aspect is huge.
Yep.
I'm sure it is. And, D2, it's in there, not as much.
Mm-hmm.
So D2 and D3, I think if you really wanted to go back to more pure football, those are going to be the two avenues you go to. But right now, or a smaller D1 school.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want to be at one of those major conference D1 football teams, it's a business.
Yeah.
It's a big business now.
I mean, you look at Alabama too, because after Saban, retired, and they bring in really good coach, but there was how many kids like, nope, we're going to go in transfer portal now.
Yeah.
There's like, nope, we're going to go somewhere else.
I think the limit's probably going to have to be put in there for how many transfers. I know they're working on that.
Yep.
And I just don't know. because it used to be there's no waiting period anymore.
Right.
That was always a big thing. Like you
Yep.
transferred, then you had to wait maybe either a year or maybe half a. Sometimes you'd get that semester where a guy could come in
Right.
and start. Now there's nothing. So it really is like, how do you navigate? How do you put? Even if you try to limit, that's the thing. Lawsuits are going to happen.
Yes.
And I think that's the problem with the NCAA is looking at. It's like anything we try to do,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to result in a court case, in a long court case. So they want to do it without having to spend more money on litigation.
Yep.
But I think it's going to come down to just finding a way you're going to have to.
Remember, was it 10 years ago when Bo Ryan, who was that player? He wouldn't let him out of the.
Oh, I know who
was it Bohannon or was it not Bohannon? No.
It might have been Bohannon.
Was it? But you remember, and he just
got. I know who it is, and I can't think of his name. But
yeah.
No. Yeah.
He just got ridiculed all over the place.
Because he wouldn't let him go to Iowa.
Yeah. I remember listening to, I think he was on ESPN radio, and like Trey Wingo or someone was just going after him, know, for that. Now you kind of wonder, do a lot of people wish it would go back to that? To the restrictions part of it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure the coaches do.
Yeah.
Because then it would just, guys wouldn't be able to just do it. Yep. But yeah, it wasn't Bohannon.
No.
I can see him too. He was a really skinny, talented player.
I'm bringing it up here.
So you can get it first.
Utah.
Yep. I really wanted to get that one before you did. Slow Monday morning. It's like playing Jeopardy where you know the answer.
I Googled it, so I cheated. So
I'll have those days in Jeopardy where I should know this answer. And then as soon as they say it, I'm like, why didn't that come to my head? It's like, didn't have enough coffee in the morning.
But yeah, I wonder what college sports is going to look like in the next few years.
I don't know. They got to they have to find a way to get a handle on it.
Yeah, because I mean, you hear players like, oh, NIL, now players will stay longer, but now it's like the opposite effect. Coaches might be looking to leave quicker.
Yeah,
and maybe taking lesser jobs.
I don't know. I mean, the word that comes, the phrase that comes to mind is happy medium.
Yeah,
you got to find a happy medium where you can balance, and I know that's what they're looking for in every sport and every level. But football, I don't think football's still making a ton of money.
Yeah,
we can't sit out there and say college football isn't making money because people are still watching those big matchups, and it's just you got to like think of like Jim Harbaugh, guy wins a national title. First thing everybody's thinking of is he's going back to the NFL.
Right.
You were thinking about that before. Now, granted, there's other circumstances with Michigan that might have led him to leave too. But yeah, as soon as a guy now gets to that point, it's not is he going to stay forever? It's when is he leaving to the NFL? And that's not good for college football either.
Well, and it's kind of maybe like the level, like the universities at the level of a Boston College, because I feel like, I could be wrong, but I feel like a lot of the major ones, like I don't see Luke Fickell leaving his job to be a defensive coordinator in the NFL.
Right.
I could be completely wrong, but that's the feeling I don't get. But it's those other universities like a Boston College, a North Carolina or whatever, those head coaches, would they be like, hey, I know I'm not going to win a national championship here anyways. Do you just like go to the NFL then so you can focus on being a coordinator?
Well, I think it's the guys who fit in college are the guys who almost are salesmen by nature. I look at Luke Fickell and he kind of almost embraces the chance to go out there. And I think PJ Fleck's another one.
Yep.
With the Gophers, these guys are charismatic and really can go and talk. The day, like you don't see the day and age of the coach who's just coach and doesn't think, it's center lane is just completely football. I don't know if you can do that in college football anymore.
And do you think that was the downfall of Paul Chryst almost a little bit? Because you heard a lot of the recruiting suffered a little bit where it was just because, and I know it's speculation, but it's like, I don't want to have to go do all this and, try it in transfer portal. I mean, I got to imagine it wears on a lot of those coaches.
Yeah. And I think Paul Chryst, incredibly nice guy, not the most charismatic, but I mean, you listen to his, he's a funny guy, but I don't know what, if you're recruits, you're looking for the bells and whistles now.
Yeah.
And it's almost, that's what you have to be if you're a head coach. It's not, the old school, like a Bill Belichick for college. I don't know if that can exist anymore in this day and age of college football.
I would love if he would go coach at Fordham.
Yeah.
Something like that, for Navy.
I mean, that's the thing. If you're going to do it like that, you're going to have to go to a smaller school.
Yeah.
Because if you're in a power conference, they're expecting returns. So that's the other thing. Be a head coach in college and get 2 years, you're done.
Yeah.
Now it's same in the pros,
Right.
but in college it used to at least get a little longer of a chance to do something.
Those
but
buyouts don't matter anymore.
no,
I mean, the Jimbo Fisher one kind of just took care of all that. I mean, if there's a university willing to buy out the rest of his contract, it's like, oh, okay, what's stopping everybody else
right,
from
and it's
that?
not even like the school as much as like if you have a booster who says, "Hey, I'm willing to pitch in this money to get rid of this guy and put in somebody else that I like,"
Yeah.
they're going to do it.
Yep.
So it's to navigate that world in college football. It's crazy, and I don't know how.
Yeah.
There's got to be there's no map.
Yeah.
So until there's a map, it's going to be kind of the Wild West out there.
I was just gonna say Wild West, and you said it perfectly. There, you beat me on something. So,
Hey.
let's take a quick break, and not to rehash some bad stuff, but I want to get JC's thoughts on the Corbin Burns trade from a few days ago there too. So, we'll hit that up. Then we'll get to some local stuff. Recap, preview. Another busy week coming up here.
Oh yeah.
The poll question getting a little bit tighter here. 53% going with Green Bay, 47 with the Bucks. If you want to partake in our poll question of the day and you want to know what it is, you got to text the word poll, P-O-L-L, to the Shoe Doctors bullpen line at 715-830-1912. We do have a write-in from our good friend, Dr. Austin Crow, Triple Valley Orthopedic Sports Medicine, Vikings. So got one vote for the write-in over there from our good friend Austin there.
We got that 1%, right?
Yep. Totally screwed up the poll now with that 1%. No, I'm just kidding. We got a few minutes to the top here. So JC's going to be going to spring training here in about a month.
Yeah, I think a month from today.
Yeah.
Nope, tomorrow.
Tomorrow, a month from tomorrow. Going to be a little bit of a different team than what you thought maybe last week.
Yeah,
going into. So what was your reaction when you first heard the news that Corbin Burns was traded last Thursday nights?
I can't say I was surprised
Mm-hmm.
because I figured at some point it was going to happen. He just didn't want to stay Milwaukee. I think you could tell since last year and the whole arbitration thing.
And I think when Matt Arnold comes out and says it was evident Corbin was saying this was going to be his last year. I mean, Matt Arnold said that in his presser too. It's like,
I mean, right afterwards.
Yeah.
Like, so if that was the case, like they knew the writing was on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was more of a. I think you expected a little more return for Cy Young winning pitcher. Maybe some, you've got some good prospects, but I think you were hoping for more of maybe a bat that's major league proven.
Right.
And they didn't get that with it. Now, let's say the pitcher who was a first-round pick, the talent's there.
Mm-hmm.
So you're getting a pitcher that has the talent. Obviously, it's baseball. You don't know if it's going to actually happen.
Right.
But there's talent. These guys are going to be expected to play right away. So to me, I think you wish they would have got a little more return. But I think also that first-round not supplemental, but compensatory pick comes off as really big because you don't usually see first-round picks.
Mm-hmm.
You can't deal first-round picks in the Major League Baseball unless there's that sort. So you're getting
a pick that you essentially would have got in return if Corbin stayed on your team the whole year and he left in free agency.
Right. So now you're getting that as part of it. So I think that part looks good, but I think Brewers fans are obviously weary of trades of all-star pitchers after Hader and getting really nothing too much in return for that one. So I think that to me is why you're looking at this like who?
Yep.
For a Cy Young guy. We also don't know what the Brewers know about his health. That's why I'm thinking like, why are they doing this before spring training in the year when they could have him go out there and pitch and maybe get more? That's the gamble you take. So maybe they're thinking, he hasn't missed much the last few years, just little things left and right. But I think Brewers just didn't want to have the fact that he ends up getting hurt.
Did Brandon Woodruff kind of maybe, the scenario with him kind of like, play it safe and get what we
nothing.
can? Yeah.
You get nothing in return. So I think that was probably played a factor into it too. Especially when you're a smaller market team like the Brewers. You almost gotta you gotta take what you can get when you can get it, or you might not get nothing, and that's the worst case scenario with a star that you're gonna end up getting rid of.
Is it a little frustrating though for I don't want to speak for all Brewers fans here, but when you look at the division, I think, with Corbin Burnes on that team, a lot of Brewers fans still expected, hey, Cubs really aren't doing anything right now.
Right.
Yeah, the Cardinals added some veteran pitchers to their staff, but this is still a division for the taking. And if you got a Corbin Burnes on there, you're still in line to win a division. And maybe you still are at this point, but I think that's maybe where some Brewers fans were a little upset. It's like, hey, with Corbin, we still have a shot to win the division this year.
Right. I don't know if they're looking at the fact that they think Freddie can step up.
Yep.
Ashby's coming back. So and
you got Wade Miley back for
Wade Miley. Year. So they must have been, and then I don't know, was it Hall? Like I can't think of the name of the pitcher. Yeah.
Yep.
Like they have him coming in, and the guy who's pitched innings in the major leagues. I think it was more out of the bullpen, but he's supposed to be a starter at some point.
DL Hall. Yep.
Yeah. And then you have a bullpen that's still decent. They must be thinking in their mind, well, no one's that far ahead of us. Losing Burnes won't put us that far behind. That's my, I would be thinking if you're there. And it to me, it struck me as weird is like Corbin Burnes, for all his success, I don't know if he ever was endeared. I don't know if this might be just me looking at it didn't seem like people were like a Giovanni Gallardo or even like a Ben Sheets or something like that. As good as he was.
Heck, even CeCe maybe.
Was it almost like they just always the writing was on the wall that he was probably going to end up leaving?
Yeah, maybe already setting yourself up, like, not getting your hopes up and just And
that might be the curse of being a smaller market team now is that you almost know these guys are going to leave if you don't lock them up with a huge contract.
That's where I wonder if this is going to be a change of business style for the Brewers going forward, like what we saw with Jackson.
Yeah.
You got some of those young guys locking them up and hoping it's a risk, but you're hoping it'll be a bargain after a few years. And you don't have to change their contract because they're already under contract.
And that's the big thing about baseball is at least if you have these younger guys, you get them for, 5 years. Whereas now that Corbin Burnes was going to be an actual free agent.
Yeah.
Then you're going to have to pay him. And if he has another season like he's had the last few years, he's going to just command huge money. So, yeah, I think you might be right. It might be just, bet on the young and hope. And I think it's brave. It's not like the Braves have been doing that for a while there too. It's just scouting's probably better than it's ever been.
Yep.
nothing's 100%, but I think that's probably one of the bigger reasons.
Right. All right. That's the second hour in. We got another half hour with JC coming up here. We'll do a little quick recap and preview of what's to come this week in the local sports world. UW Stout girls basketball, big win over Whitewater over the weekend, too.
Coming together.
Absolutely. We'll get the latest with JC. Third and final hour here this morning. We've got about 25 more minutes with JC and EC. Don't forget a couple things, your studs and duds for the weekend. Hit us up with your picks at 715-830-1912 with a quick text. Also, if you want to partake in our poll question, just text the word poll, P-O-L-L, to our texting line. Which team do you think right now is in better shape, or who do you think we're doing it because Super Bowl's in Vegas, so we're putting some G-Man's 401k on this, putting all on black or red right now. Which team would you think has got the better shot to win a championship first? Are you rolling with Green Bay, or are you going to stick with Milwaukee? And it's tight right now. It is very tight.
If you text P-U-L-L, that'll just ask you which muscle am I going to pull first, the quad or hamstring.
We did have a couple people go P-O-L-E. I don't know if they were in the NASCAR.
Looking for the pole
position. So, yes, it's P-O-L-L to the texting line there. All right, let's recap and preview some busy stuff going on in the prep area here, just because we're starting to get closer to some postseason action coming up here, aren't we?
We are. This will be the final week for prep hockey before they start playoffs next week, and there'll be a big matchup on Thursday between they were fourth ranked Memorial and number 1 Chi High will meet for the second time. This one will be at Hobbs. Chi High got the win in the first matchup there, so Chi High is another matchup, interesting one too, on Tuesday against New Richmond, and New Richmond was, I believe, the number 1 team in Division 2.
Oh, okay.
So that'd be kind of neat to see those two matching up in a matchup there before they go their separate ways for plays. I think for New Richmond, it's probably one of those like get ready for the playoff game.
Right.
That team will be tough going into Division 2. So yeah, that we'll get and Chi High got the number 1 seed.
That bracket looks pretty awesome to watch if you're a hockey fan, but also really tough.
We always joke it's the bracket of death because it's really such a tough draw for whoever's in there, because it's just so many talented teams in this area and teams that know each other so well that it's going to be really, really fun to see what ends up coming out of that. And I think Chi High has a chance, as good a chance as anybody to come out of Memorial, beating 2 number 1 teams. Hudson's always tough.
Yeah.
And you never know. You never know what the other teams in there that can come up and pull it up.
Because Spash is at the bottom, right, as a 2 seed on that bracket too. So, I mean, Memorial just beat them, and I think Brandon said the only team Chi lost to was Spash. So,
so they do all the math and that and try to figure it out.
Exactly.
So it's gonna be a real fun to see who makes it over to Middleton. It's not really Madison, where the Madcaps play for the championship there.
Probably some good odds that maybe a couple teams around here, whether it's New Richmond and then maybe some in that bracket going to state.
I think so. Amory's a really good team too in Division 2, and you got like a team like Rice Lake that plays a D1 schedule the whole year, then goes to D2.
Yep.
See what they can do, make noise. So, there's a lot of teams around here. Ram, too. I mean, they make some noise. They did last year. Got into the sectional semifinals, I believe. So, let's do it.
Absolutely. So, final week there. Basketball is getting close, too.
We have a couple of weeks left here.
So, girls, are we going to know the seeds this weekend or early part of next week, do you think?
I think it's early next week. Don't quote me on that. But it's very soon because, with hockey already having their brackets out, I think at the end of the week we'll have seeding meetings coming up there. So,
and then boys are another week on top of that. So
a lot of teams, vying for conference titles. A lot of teams have already clinched conference titles already. You got teams, Elk Mound girls still undefeated now, 20-0.
Wow.
And Bloomer boys clinched the Clover Belt West. So I mean, there's teams, and then the Big Rivers has been a battle.
Yeah.
Eau Claire Memorial, unfortunately losing Cooper Jesperson, but still coming back and getting some big wins last week. River Falls is a talented team. Got the win there. Or they got the win there. And then you take on Hudson, another tough team. So I mean, it's Ted Brisky's team. Obviously, you lose a talent player like Jesperson, but that team's deep. So I think they can circle the wagons and keep things going there.
Because he was averaging 20 points per game, too,
he's
wasn't he?
Immensely talented player. And obviously, you don't want to lose a player like that, but it's not to discount the rest of that team is talented as well.
Now, even if, I don't know, this might be, he's done for the year, it sounds like.
I know that's what it's the reports of, having surgery and on his arm, I believe it was. So, kind of hard to come back from that this late in the year. So,
and is he a junior?
He was a junior.
Okay, so he does have his you don't if he was a senior, you'd hate the end of your senior year.
So I mean, it's great that hopefully we get to see him play again. But
right.
yeah, that Memorial team, they've been a lot of fun to watch. As has the girls team.
Yeah.
For Memorial as well, as they're in a fight for that top spot in the Big Rivers as well, with Menominee and Rice Lakes right there as well.
So for both boys and girls in the BRC, is it still kind of up for grabs for these last couple weeks?
The last couple, it really is. So you've got some good basketball to be played.
It's kind of like playoff basketball.
It really, it really is. I mean, the BRCs, it's gonna be tough, and then it'll be fun to see where these teams end up with the draw. And like I said, we're in February now, so we're. Wrestling regionals are this weekend.
That's right, because conference ones were this past weekend for a lot of teams.
So we got wrestling regionals, and then you have swimming sectionals.
Oh, geez.
So yeah, we're right there and getting towards later we get here in February, the more things really ramp up in the high school ranks.
And I know to go back to basketball here quickly too, like for middle. We still got even like a couple of non-conference games here too. I think Altoona boys plays Chippew Falls boys.
That is tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I got my schedule right here. Yep, Altoona versus Chi High. So yeah, you got a fun matchup there between.
Yep.
Those two teams always feel like they meet in the playoffs, no matter what. Like Marshall, but get a little.
Yeah, Marshall and Chippewa Falls always, it seems like, just mark that up for girls basketball.
Yeah, it always seems to happen. So yeah, kind of a fun one going on there. So. Yeah, I think Lacrosse Central takes on Memorial Girls tonight.
Okay,
at 6:00 if you're planning on going. It's a 6:00 start.
So. Nice. All right, it's going to be I mean, you're kind of going through the conference standings and such. I mean, to have so much up in the air with the week left or even 2 weeks left for some of these, it's got to feel like that a nice primer for playoffs to get into that to get ready for the tournament.
Dunn St. Croix is the same way too. I mean, you got Elk Mound, Durand, Arkansas, Spring Valley, all kind of competing for that one. Another good non-conference one I wanted to mention one tonight. You got Cameron versus Prescott.
Okay.
So you get a little middle border action there, taken on the heart of the North, and Cameron. Both those teams played very well, so that should be an interesting one to see.
Absolutely. College-wise, so I know the Blue Golds a little bit of a rough weekend on the basketball courts. They fell to Oshkosh, both teams over there. Stout though, that girls team. Big win against Whitewater.
Yeah,
over the weekend.
That team, I kind of saw them play last week against Point, and they looked like a different team than what the team I'd seen them play against Eau Claire a couple weeks earlier. I think they're healthier, and I think you could see it. They were moving the ball well. The communication was there. So that was a team that was ranked, I think, 10th at one point in D3 hoops.
Yep.
Poll. So that's a team has the talent. So for them, for Hannah's team to start clicking at the right time.
Yep.
Obviously, they still got to win some games because I think they're pretty secure in the field, but you can't have a letdown.
Right.
And you end up with the Blue Golds and Blue Devils matchup on Saturday. So it'll be Stout coming here to Eau Claire for 2 games, doubleheader.
The doubleheader, yep.
So there's big games, and they got lacrosse on Wednesday. So
wow.
Yeah, some kind of rivalry week there if you look at it for those WIAC teams.
Yeah. And then I know, speaking of rivalry week, the men's team for hockey tying up with River Falls.
Yeah.
And then you got the women's going at it in a couple days here for hockey.
Yeah, on Wednesday. A little Wednesday matchup there in the middle of the week against. I mean, that is. I think I talk about it all the time, but that is one of the better rivalries you'll see, especially in women's hockey. Is that Eau Claire River Falls every year for the last 7 years, probably at this point.
Yeah,
they've been battling for that conference title,
and it seems like it's like a battle also on the recruiting trail because they got to be recruiting a lot of the same players for that.
Yeah, so I mean, it's one of those where for the Blue Golds, probably right now need it more than River Falls does, in the fact that I think in the latest pairwise rankings, they were one of the first 3 teams out.
Okay.
If so, beat them. It mainly comes down to you want to win either the regular season title and make have them looking at you because you won the regular season title, or you're going to have to make the run for the conference title because there's no automatic qualifier.
Right.
So for the Blue Golds, every game is huge. I think it's amplified even more. I think River Falls, because they've been number 1 in the conference for how long?
Right.
Undefeated. They're probably fine. But I think for the Blue Golds, you almost have to come into this is playoff mentality for all these remaining games because you're playing to get into the NCAA tournament.
Right, exactly. Back to basketball here, because it seems like this Blue Gold men's team is so close to a lot of these games. I mean, was it last week against Platteville? They were so close.
I mean, that's a top 10 team.
Yeah.
Platteville, 14, I think there's something like that. A top 20 team that they were right there. And they've been right there. It's just been the end of games. Closing out games, it's just been hard. I think the talented group, and it's just, it's hard because you get to know these kids and they want it so badly.
Yep.
And they're so close. It just hasn't happened. So we'll see. I mean, you got a stout rivalry matchup at the end of the week. You got lacrosse, another tough team too. Yeah. So let's see if they can, turn it around. And I feel like if you can get one done at this point, I don't think you can make the conference tournament anyway. So it's now it's just a lot of bragging rights now you want to get.
Right. Yep, exactly. So I know wrestling had their Don Parker Open this past weekend. They don't do team results there, but a lot of individual standouts. And they've got one more dual meet coming up against your Pointers.
On
the at the
don't tell them that. Don't tell them wrestling that in my place.
You're alum. You're former university over there, but then the expectations I think are going to be incredibly high heading into NCAA's right after that, because that's their final one coming up this Friday. So.
Yeah, and then of course we were talking about this last week with the Nationals being in lacrosse.
Yep,
you want to be close to home and have a chance to go down there. So I want to. We were talking about rivalries. Quick, like Thursday, it's like the perfect rivalry. You got Chippewa Falls Memorial. You have North Memorial girls basketball.
Oh, geez.
You got McDonald Regis girls basketball as well. And then you got Colfax Elk Mound, boys basketball. So all those, and Wolves Bucks.
That's right.
On Thursday.
Yep.
Look at that. That's it's kind of just perfectly. I think my theme will be that night. It'll be rivalry night.
Well, can I throw one more in? Oh, that's Thursday though. I was going to say for this weekend, there's another one too. It's if you want to do Blue Gold track and field lacrosse invite.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. Where I found out a couple weeks ago, we had Chip Schneider on for the Rolling with the Goals podcast. You're not allowed to say lacrosse. I don't know if you noticed. I was not allowed to say lacrosse.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I was, because I mentioned, I'm like, oh, you coached lacrosse. I said, we don't talk about that. We don't mention that. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, I love it though.
I do.
That rivalry there.
You get that motivation.
Yep. So I was like, all right, there we go. So the more you know now. So don't say that in front of coach.
Nope. No chance.
Yep. But and then you mentioned that Thursday. If you add in basketball with the rivalry with Stout too. I mean, this whole week.
Yeah. Oh, it is. It's kind of like
rivalry week.
Yeah, it really does have that feel to it.
Yeah,
it'll be fun.
A lot of good stuff to catch in action for sure. So hockey, as you mentioned, final week.
Oh, the men's team, we didn't even say they play Stout too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
For 2 games. So had a big weekend,
getting
the win and then a tie and get another point against River Falls. Still sitting right there with points.
Yep.
That point would have to get upset. But
those wins by point earlier in the season are really kind of benefiting them right now, it seems like.
Well, and even on Friday night, Northland had the lead 1-0, I think, with 4 minutes to go in the third period. And you're like, oh, if this would be Northland pulls off this upset of point and then point scored and then point scored in the final minute. I mean, that was almost that close to Eau Claire hopping. I think they would have been I think they're 2 points back. So they would have been a tie.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that just tells you, how close it is. And this Blue Gold's team playing some good hockey here as we head towards playoff. And again, that's an automatic qualifier in the conference tournament there. So
a lot of good stuff happening right now. So, all right. Big thanks to JC for breaking that down. Before I let you go here, coming up in a little bit, how concerned are you with what you're seeing with the Bucks right now?
I'm not, because I feel like there's going to be a little bit of growing pains with a new coach coming in this point in the season. So I think maybe the All-Star break, when that comes up, will be a perfect time for them to kind of reset, even though Doc's going to be coaching.
That's going to say, I was like, I almost wish Doc wasn't coaching.
Yeah, so he could just have a time just to sit back and figure out what he's got. But I'm not too concerned, because we've seen this team offensively. Once they start clicking, they're pretty hard to stop.
Yeah,
the defense is just is the work in progress there. So I'm not overly concerned, because I think there's still a ton of talent. And then All-Star break is when deals start getting pounded out.
Trade deadline's on Thursday this week.
Yeah, never mind. That's when the trades.
So it's like, I was reading a little bit from Eric Name from The Athletic, and he put some proposals out there. I mean, pretty much they would either have to move, depending on who you want, but it's either going to take Bobby Portis, Pat Connaughton, even Marjan Beauchamp in some of those, because they don't have their best draft pick is the Portland second round pick for this year.
Yeah, that's not going to move the needle much.
No, so it just, I mean, there's one package for Murray from Atlanta. He's like, it's going to take Pat, Marjan, Bobby, that second round pick, and then their 2027 pick. It's like, holy moly, that's a lot. You're pretty much depleting your bench.
Yeah.
But it looks like Doc doesn't even want to use his bench at times so far. He's got a short bench already, so I don't know.
Bobby's tough because that's a guy who's just been such a spark plug.
Yep.
But also, if you need to get that a more of a star player, it might and it's probably he's probably the most, maybe the eyes are most on him.
Yeah.
Most visible player that would go.
Yep.
But and maybe they don't. Who knows? Maybe they don't say hey, we don't need to. But
that's like I think the tricky thing here is like, because you kind of had a reset with Doc coming in.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, like, do you feel like you've seen enough from, Doc coaching these few games with this group to decide, okay, we still need to make this move or get better here? That's what Horst and them are going to have to figure out here in the next couple of days.
Yeah.
And
what is the biggest need?
I
think defense is what everybody looks at. But you don't want to screw up the chemistry.
Right.
That's always we've seen that happen.
Yep.
Oh.
That I just know that game last night, getting outscored 40-13 in the fourth.
Yeah.
Against the Jazz. Great comeback win against the Dallas Mavericks. But then last night it looked like, okay, they're going to, and then 40-13 in the fourth.
Yeah.
Yikes.
That can't happen.
No.
You got to figure out the defense there.
Yep. And then finally, I mean, maybe a little home cooking is what this team needs, because their final road game's tomorrow against Phoenix. And then they're back home for a little bit there. So
it's weird having the trade deadline.
Yeah.
Where it is.
I know.
You'd think you would have the All-Star game and then.
Because there's potential. I think it actually happened one year. I mean, was it Mitchell? Was it Donovan Mitchell got traded before the All-Star game?
Yes.
And it was like, yeah kind of weird.
Yeah, it really is kind of but their schedules changed. Because they used to have all these All-Star games used to be like, because the NHL and NBA used to be at the same weekend a lot of the time.
Yep.
So now it's kind of, then you'd throw in like the Daytona 500s right around there too. So you get some of these different weekends with all this stuff happening.
Yep. Okay. Before and then the Badgers, we were talking about the Nebraska game.
Yep.
And again, they looked like they were going to have it in the second half. Just everything got cold.
And they let that crowd
Yep.
just bring that Nebraska team to life.
Yep.
Yeah.
They fought Purdue yesterday. It was close throughout. Got a feeling they're probably going to be outside the top 10 in the latest rankings now.
13 would be my.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that's where
they move up 7 last week. They're probably going to drop down 7 this week. But I was watching the Field of 68, Jeff Goodman on that, and I think they kind of summed up the Big Ten perfectly, where they said, Purdue, it's Purdue, then a gap, Wisconsin and Illinois, then a larger gap after that. And after those 3, when you look at the state, there's like 8 teams within a game of each other for that 4th spot in there. But I think you can tell there is a gap between all. And it worries me saying that about Michigan State, though, too, because how many times have we seen Michigan
you don't
State?
want to discount them and then have them come back and get you.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think it's not a time of panic for the Badgers. I think that team just needs to – I get confidence after that Nebraska game. I mean, they gave Purdue a run. But we've seen Badger teams have these couple game slides, like the good team. Like I'm thinking of the Final Four teams.
Because Frank the Tank's teams lost to Nebraska, I remember. That was like a huge upset, and,
went
through a couple slides that
Rutgers.
way. Yep.
Who the Badgers play next.
Yeah.
So it's one of those like, okay, come back and get things. Is that a road game too, I think?
Yeah, because they got 9 games left and only 4 are at the Kohl Center.
Yeah.
I had it up earlier.
So it's one of those, you don't want to have another letdown. Go to Rutgers, take care of business, and then kind of regroup and get back to work. Because I don't think they played horrible yesterday. I think there's just a few of those shots that just didn't fall. Like they were in the lane with Zach Edey in the middle there trying to navigate. They did such a good job. A few of those, like even Tyler Wall shots, if they fall, it's a different game. And they just didn't. And I couldn't hit a 3 in the second half.
The one thing that bugged me about that Nebraska game, in the second half, it looked like they almost reverted to the Badgers of last year.
Yeah.
Settling for jump shots, playing a little hero ball, letting the clock drain down.
Yeah, when that team's not in a flow, you can tell.
Yeah.
And you even saw it with Purdue. Like it's they're forcing shots. They're They're not swinging the ball as much.
Yep.
And I think you saw it yesterday when AJ Storr came and tried to drive right away and take a shot, and guard is like, okay, I'm out. We got to get somebody.
Yep.
But also credit to the Purdue defense. They did not give the Badgers almost an inch to breathe.
Mm-hmm.
You even saw like they would swing it out, and you'd almost see like one of the bigger guys get that pass or shoot it, because it's like the only time you'd see them get in, because there just wasn't any space. So I mean, it's just how good of a team Purdue is too.
Yeah, I know we kind of keep saying this. First of all, we only got about a month left of the regular season,
right?
But you look across the board here, even like, UConn's probably the cream of the crop right now, defending champs. But after that, I mean, I can see so many different upsets coming.
Oh yeah,
coming to play here.
Well, it's not. I was just thinking about this yesterday. It's not unheard of when one beats one in a 16 match.
Not anymore. Yeah,
because these regular season matches you watch.
Yeah,
these Nebraska team rise up and beat a Badgers team that on paper it looks like Wisconsin should be a much better team, but when the age of the 3-pointer, if you're hitting and one team's not, it makes a huge difference, and that's how you win or lose games.
And I'm sorry, still, if I can pick Purdue to go deep in the tournament because of their background in that.
And there's no one, you say UConn, but I don't feel like there's any team that's way above any other team in college basketball right
now. There's not that dominating team. I mean, North Carolina just lost last week. Houston just lost, this past week too. So Purdue barely escaped Northwestern again.
Yeah.
Before that Wisconsin game.
And, they lost to Nebraska.
Yeah.
Like, Nebraska, if they can get going, building up that resume with 2 top 5 wins.
Yeah.
Top 6 wins, excuse me.
Yeah. They could sneak in there, man. So, all right. Before I let you go, I got to take this down. That's an old schedule, because you are going to be our first celebrity picker.
Oh, yay.
Super Bowl. Sounds so enthusiastic.
No. Yes.
You got Chiefs or 49ers? How do you see this playing out on Sunday?
I'm going to go on paper and go with the 49ers.
Okay.
I think they're the better team. I say like 30-27.
30. I'm going to write this down so I can put it up on the board here. 30-27 49ers.
Yes.
Think they jump out early? They don't fall behind like they did in the last couple games here?
Yeah. I think it's a make or break game for Brock Purdy.
Gosh.
You're already hearing rumors that,
according to Cam Newton, he's the 10th best player on there. So, man, isn't that Tom Brady story kind of wild?
Did I miss one? Like they almost brought him in before.
Like Kyle Shanahan. Yeah. Because I was reading Peter King's column this morning, and he's like, yeah, we told Brock. And he's kind of backtracked a little bit. It was mostly like, if he was hurt, because that was kind of an unknown. Tom would have came in for a year, and then, Brock Purdy still would have been the guy for the long term sort of thing. So, but yeah, who was another quarterback that's like been at the same level like Brock Purdy, where there's like so many people just like kind of questioning. It almost feels like they're making us out to be in like the 2000 Ravens. They're winning in spite of Trent Dilfer.
It's not Purdy's that bad. It's just like watching those 2 games. There's been some passes that you're like, what are you doing?
Yeah. You can't play in the rain.
Yeah.
So at least this one you won't have to worry about. So
no, Vegas is, well, they've had some of that rain, like Pebble Beach and stuff like that going on this past. I don't know what the forecast is. I usually have it on my phone because my parents live in so close. So, but I'm not there, so I don't.
Yeah. All right, so you're gonna roll with the Niners.
I'll go with the Niners.
Just upset all the Swifty listeners that we have.
Oh, hey, guys, girls, I'm on your side with the Swifty stuff. I don't mind her. I don't mind any of it.
Yeah.
It doesn't bother me one bit.
Yeah.
If you can't handle them showing a cutaway of somebody in the stands, that's your fault. That's something with you. 56.
Okay.
Sunny and 56 on Sunday in Vegas. Right now it's 51 and raining. So think about it, folks, here in Eau Claire. Super Bowl should be here. Better weather right now.
Yeah, they should have, looked at the weather and just said, screw it, Vegas. You got to wait another couple of years. We're just going to move it to Green Bay.
Honestly, I mean, our temperatures are comparable this whole week to Las Vegas, which is just nuts.
Well, you'll probably have some media members complain like when it was in Minnesota, how cold it was, and that's why they'll never go back there. Like, you guys are indoors the whole time.
Right. Well, other than my mile walk to my car.
Well, but yeah. There were so many people complaining that week about it.
Well, even like Dallas, though, when it was there, they had this ice storm
Yeah.
and stuff like it. This time of year, no matter where you're at, there's a chance that the
Yeah.
weather could turn bad.
We had just the anniversary was the Steelers and Seahawks Super Bowl, the '06 one. I remember that was like freezing rain and all
Right.
that over there
Yeah.
in Detroit. So
Yeah. No, Minneapolis was fine because everything was at the mall.
yeah,
Then you were at the stadium for the game, so it
Yep.
wasn't that.
nah, I embrace it. If you're a warm weather guy and you never usually go there, embrace it. Like I'll mention Peter King that week. What did he do? Went ice fishing for the first time and wrote about it.
There you go.
Just embrace it for once.
Good for him.
Yeah. All right, dude. Appreciate it, man. As always. We'll chat with you again soon. Okay.
Sounds good.
All right. We're gonna take a quick break, and we'll be back with more after these quick words. It's tax season, so while you may be a little frustrated trying to track down your W-2s and whether you're going to file yourself or maybe have someone do it for you, think about the light at the end of the tunnel, the return. Yeah, that tax return, some extra coin in your pocket. Now that what should you do with that extra cash that's maybe burning a hole in your pocket? How about finally changing out that old ratty carpet in your home and getting some new luxurious carpet or vinyl planks from Wisconsin's premier flooring store, Carpet City Flooring Center in Eau Claire. Whatever style of flooring you're looking for, or maybe you're not sure what style you want yet, the team at Carpet City Flooring Center is waiting to help you find that perfect new floor for your space. So, what the heck are you waiting for? Once you get your taxes done, go visit Carpet City Flooring Center at 3109 East Hamilton Avenue and chat with one of their awesome team members there. They'll help you finally get that new floor in your home that you've been wanting for a while. And you know what? All at the best price in town because they will match or beat the competition. Last call for any of you that want to partake in our poll question of the day. Trying something new, and big thanks to everybody who has done this so far. Just another way. So if you don't want to have to text your answer or why, you just want to say, hey, I just want to make a pick. Just text the word poll, P-O-L-L, to our Shoe Doctors bullpen line at 715-830-1912. You'll get a text back with the question, and you just say A or B. The question being, right now, how things have changed and how things have kind of I guess, just things are a little bit different right now. But who do you think, if you had to put some money on it right now, kind of going with a little Vegas theme with the Super Bowl, if you had to put some money on it right now, maybe a futures bet, who do you think will win a championship sooner? The next championship in the state of Wisconsin. The first hour, we kind of narrowed it down to just two, Bucks or Packers. And right now, the Packers are leading 53% of the vote. So, if you want to play along with us, hit us up with the text at 715-830-1912 with the word poll, P-O-L-L. All right. Okay. Coming up here in just a little bit, we will do some picks and predicts brought to you by the Elbow Room in Eau Claire. Also, too, I'll make sure to get up the picks, our Super Bowl picks on our website. That's sportstalk1051.com on that fan cave over there. Quick coaching updates here. We've got Cliff Kingsbury officially announced as the offensive coordinator for the Commanders. Originally was going to the Raiders, it sounds like, but now jumping ship and going to the Commanders. Luke Getsy, the former Packers quarterbacks coach and former Bears offensive coordinator, now going to be the Raiders offensive coordinator. In terms of the Pack, couple of adjustments to their coaching staff so far. Longtime defensive line coach Jerry Montgomery no longer with the team. It sounds like he's going to be, or has, or will be interviewing with the position on the Patriot staff. But also on the defensive side, they're losing assistant Justin Hood. He is also going to the Falcons. So Packers, at least, there could be more. There could be more coming down the wire here, but Packers at least going to be looking for a couple of defensive assistants to add to their new defensive coordinators list. And I would hope that the Packers would let their new defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley kind of have a say in some of his defensive assistants somewhere over there. But also, Sean Mannion, the former quarterback, sounds like he's going to call it a career at the age of 31, and he's going to be joining the Packers coaching staff, helping out with the quarterbacks in the passing game. I think this is going to be eventually, they're bringing him in. Tom Clements reportedly is going to be sticking around, and I feel like, me personally, I feel like that's going to be kind of a job shadowing thing. Sean Mannion's going to work with Tom Clements and such, and then eventually maybe Sean Mannion's going to be the quarterback's coach for Green Bay if he sticks around there for a little bit. So, but that's just my guess. We'll see if there's going to be any more moves made with the position coaches in the next couple weeks going on here. So, Elsewhere so that's pretty much it in terms. Cowboys too going to be losing some assistants. Not only did they lose Dan Quinn, they lost Joe Witt Jr., who potentially could have been their defensive coordinator. Joe Witt Jr., if that name sounds familiar, it's because he was a longtime Packers assistant uh, under Mike McCarthy. Worked a lot with Charles Woodson, had a lot of positive stuff to say about him during their time over there. So he's finally getting a defensive coordinator position. He's following Dan Quinn over there, which means Mike McCarthy in his final year with the Dallas Cowboys needs a new defensive coordinator and needs some new assistant coaches. One name that is apparently interviewed, Mike Zimmer, former Vikings coach. Could he be going over there? I believe Ron Rivera reportedly also interviewed or will be interviewing. So could Mike McCarthy bring in an older coach, an experienced coach, or does he go with somebody new? Bring in somebody new at that. So, all right. Tell you what, let's wrap things up here. Okay. Again, last call if you want to participate in our poll question. Just text the word poll, POLL, to 715-830-1912. We'll give you the final results coming up here in just a little bit. But we've got some picks and predicts coming up here. We're going to pick some games. We're going to probably do mostly NBA such, looking at the NBA schedule in that with some games coming up here tonight. Not a big slate of games. Going to be honest with you, not a ton of games on here. So we'll do a couple of those. Maybe hit up some of the college games over there too. When you're looking at, let me bring up what do we got here on the college slate for tonight. Yeah, you got Kansas and Kansas State. So not a lot, but hey, we'll still pick some games and have some fun with it. All right. So we'll take our final break here and then start to wrap things up here this morning. Final results on the poll question, picks and predicts coming up after these quick words. Get your menu ready for the big game by hitting up our good friends Hy-Vee in Eau Claire. Whether you're looking for some snacks and maybe some wings or whatever's on the menu for the big game, go check out Hy-Vee. Maybe making some chili, maybe throwing some pizzas in, whatever the case may be. They got you covered. Hutsy and I did that yesterday, getting some stuff for the menu for the big game on Sunday. What's on your menu? Think about that. We're going to hit that up a little bit later on this week. What's the ultimate big game menu, or what's on your menu? All right, what are you doing for Sunday for the game, food wise and such? So it's time to do some picks and predicts. Brought to you by the Elbow Room here in Eau Claire. Looking for somewhere maybe to catch the game on Sunday night? Head up to the Elbow Room next to the Banbury Place in Eau Claire. Grab yourself some Man Cave lights because they've got Man Cave light over there, baby. Go check out the game there. Not a lot of games in action tonight, but we're going to do a couple of hockey ones and a couple of NBA games. So let's start off with the NHL world. Islanders taking on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Toronto's 25-14-8, but just 11-9 at home. However, the Islanders 8-11-5 on the road. So give me the Toronto Maple Leafs tonight. You got the Avalanche, 32-14-3 overall, taking on the New York Rangers, 30-16-3. New York's 15-7 at home. The Avalanche 12-9 away. You know what? I'm feeling a little Colorado. Let's go with the Avalanche and a little bit of an upset tonight. How about that? Hoops games, we've got Sacramento taking on Cleveland. The Kings 29-19 on the season, 15-11 on the road. Taking on the red-hot Cleveland Cavaliers, 31-16, 17-8. For looking at Cleveland, I mean, they have been on a tear. We were talking a little bit about the Eastern Conference standings just a little bit ago, but Cleveland right now is what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-game winning streak, but they're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 13 and 14 of the last 14 games, if I did my math quickly there. So, yeah, give me Cleveland for sure in this game going up against Sacramento. They're really good, and they're going to probably overtake the Bucks for second in the Eastern Conference. They're favored by 4.5. Give me that, and they easily cover that game. Dallas taking on Philadelphia. No Joel Embiid. I think that's why Dallas, even though it is in Philly, is favored by 1.5. I'm going to go and take Dallas too. I think they win. I think they take advantage of the 76ers without Joel Embiid. A big influx of texts for our poll question that came in. Big thanks to everybody who texted in. Again, we're trying something new with the poll question to give everybody a shot because, not everybody has Twitter, so we can't have a poll question up there. So we'll probably do this more often, but text the word poll, P-O-L-L, to our Shoe Doctors bullpen line, 715-830-1912. And today we did who is going to be the team that wins the championship sooner. We kind of hashed it out in the first hour, narrowed it down, and by the slimmest of margins, it was option B. All of you, I should say all of you, but majority of you, by the slimmest of margins, going with you think the Packers over the Bucks, that you think the Packers are going to win a championship sooner than what the Bucks will. So, again, big thanks to everybody who voted. Going to do some more stuff like this later on, I think. So, again, big thanks to all of you. And if you still want, I guess we got a few minutes yet to the top here. If you still want to vote and maybe kind of change that, you want to stuff the ballot box, if you will, you can try to do that now in the next couple of minutes here. So, coming up tomorrow, we will do, What's Your Beef? Ray's Place. We'll hit that up. Also, we'll chat some more Badgers with RJ Cardinal. We're going to throw in some hoops chat. We're going to throw in some hockey chat. But we got to give some love to the Badger wrestling team there, too. And I know RJ's big into wrestling, so we got to hit that up with him. We're going to hit up as much as we can with Badger sports because throwing tennis and such, a lot of good stuff happening with the Badger athletic teams right now. So we'll catch up on all that with RJ. So we'll hit that up as well. I will update the the standings and put some new games in for our Pick'em Challenge on our websites under the Fan Cave. So make sure you go over to sportstalk1051.com and click on that Fan Cave. Later on, we'll have the Super Bowl picks over there. All right, so we'll get that done too. So other stuff, we'll keep you posted if there's any more movements surrounding, Packers assistant coaches and such. But anybody watch the Pro Bowl? I did watch the Pro Bowl yesterday. I did watch the Pro Bowl yesterday because Hudson wanted to watch it. It was okay. It wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. But the thing is, I think I got to keep reminding ourselves, it's all for the kids. It's for the younger fans out there. It's not necessarily for, us older people where it's like it's not a real football game. Hudson loved it. He absolutely loved it. So I think that's what we got to kind of remember too when we get to the Pro Bowl. And I'm guilty of this too, criticizing the Pro Bowl and such. It's for the younger fans, and Hudson really loved it. But it wasn't bad. A little drama at the end there. NFC Eli Manning getting the win over his big brother Peyton again yesterday. So what do we got to wrap it up here? Let's. Oh, I didn't see this. Patrick Mahomes' father arrested in Texas on suspicion of DWI. I just saw that. That was yesterday. Okay, I just saw this pop up. Oh, not obviously the news Patrick Mahomes wants heading into another Super Bowl week for him. So, the UFL also announces the inaugural season schedule with a March 30th kickoff. The United Football League. Full 43-game schedule was announced today. The combination of the XFL and the USFL. Oh, boy. There we go. Spring football, man. I'm going to try to get into it. I don't know. It's a little too much for me at times. It's a little too much for me, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes this year. What else do we got on here? Oh, yeah, we got to do some studs and duds really quick here. Studs and duds for this Monday morning. I'm going to go duds first. And I know you're supposed to be patient but that Bucks game from last night, I'll make it more specific. The fourth quarter of the Bucks game last night, being outscored 40-13. Ew. That was ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. They started off a little slow, bounced back in the second quarter, outscoring them by 16 points. Had the lead after the third, thinking, okay, they're going to get this done. But then you only put up 13 in the fourth, and you give up 40. That was a dud. A big old stinking dud last night. Okay? Yuck. It was ugly. That was ugly. So that's my dud. My stud. I'm going to go. This one's kind of a tough one here a little bit. You know what? I might have to go stud. Hear me out here. I know this is going to be like, what you can't be saying. Stud, I'm actually going to give a little credit to the Pro Bowl because I thought it was engaging for the younger crowd, and that's what they got to do. I don't know if they did. I could be completely wrong here. They should do that on Nickelodeon too. They should put that on Nickelodeon for the kids. Hudson was glued to it watching it, was even going outside playing football during breaks and such. He was all in it. So I think I got to give him a little props. I got to give the Pro Bowl a little props there. It's not my thing. Not really my thing, but watching it with my 6-year-old, he was way into it. So I got to give them a little stud on that one. Little stud. All right. Shot clock's going to cut me off here. So again, tomorrow, got a typical Tuesday coming at you. We'll talk lots of Badgers with RJ because we have a lot to get to here. A ton of Badger stuff to get to with RJ. So we'll recap it all and preview it. Super Bowl week, we'll continue. We'll start to make some picks with the Super Bowl with you making your picks here. Where's your confidence flowing right now? Are you going with the Chiefs? You're going with the 49ers? You'll be able to start voting on our websites later on today. Don't forget to check out the Man Cave podcast. Again, big thank you to everybody who has been tuning in lately. Been seeing some of the numbers. Big thanks for that. Really appreciate that. And big thanks for everybody who's taken just a few seconds to give it a 5-star rating, like on Spotify or Apple positive reviews. I appreciate that. If you missed any portions from today, we'll put some of the highlights on the Man Cave podcast, including new segments, the local sports roundup, Justice breaking it down for us. That'll be a separate segment on there as well. DP and the Danettes, they're up next. Have yourself a fantastic Monday. We'll do it again tomorrow morning, just past 6. Talk to you then.